Kratom, Mitragyna speciosa, is a tropical evergreen tree from Southeast Asia. There are different strains of kratom, white, red, and green, that determine the type of effects kratom will have on the body, either energetic, sedating, and so forth. Kratom is in the Rubiaceae family, which also includes coffee and gardenia. Kratom has been used for centuries for reducing pain, exhaustion, depression, and anxiety. The leaves of kratom are consumed either by chewing or by drying and smoking, putting into capsules, tablets or extract, or by boiling into a tea. The effects are unique in that stimulation occurs at low doses, and opioid-like depressant and euphoric effects occur at higher doses. Kratom is also used in treating opioid addiction. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, says there is no scientific data that supports the use of kratom for medical purposes. The FDA also states that kratom should not be used as an alternative to prescription opioids, even if using it for opioid withdrawal symptoms. Mind you, the FDA are the people that allow chemicals like EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole, and BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene, in your foods, which are hormone disruptors, neurotoxins, and carcinogens. Kratom has been on the DEA's Drug Enforcement Agency list of drugs of concern for several years. The DEA has wanted to put kratom on the list of Schedule I drugs along with marijuana. While marijuana is still a Schedule I drug federally, we have seen all the medical benefits people have reaped from using it. As of right now, kratom is not scheduled federally, although some states have made it illegal. Kratom triggers opioid receptors in the brain, even though it isn't an opioid. For many of us with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, kratom has been a godsend to help treat the pain and exhaustion that comes with this disease. In most states, kratom is a legal alternative to opioids and narcotics. In my heart of hearts, I believe the reason the DEA and FDA want to outlaw kratom isn't because of the danger they believe it imposes on the American people, but because the medical system and the government haven't figured out a way to make money off of it. If the FDA and DEA were really concerned about the well-being of Americans, they would outlaw cigarettes, since they kill almost 500,000 people a year in the United States. That totals more than AIDS, alcohol, car accidents, illegal drugs, murders, and suicides combined, according to several sources. So what are the negative effects of taking too much kratom? Agitation, cardiac arrest, central nervous system depression, coma, constipation, drowsiness, dry mouth, hypertension, itching, nausea, renal failure, respiratory arrest seizures, tachycardia, and vomiting. In rare instances, hepatoxicity, liver damage, has occurred, which if you look at your prescription drugs, your list is probably even longer for negative effects for that. What are the odds of dying by taking kratom as opposed to smoking? In 6 years' time, from 2012 to 2018, there were less than 100 cases of kratom being the cause of death from overdose, according to a report from the NCBI, National Center for Biotechnology Information. Smoking was almost 2.9 million people in 6 years' time, and narcotics and opioid deaths were 540,000 people when added up for the same amount of time, according to drugabuse.gov. Kratom deaths were only 0.3%. It didn't even register high enough to make it to 1%. So is kratom really the problem? Now that we've discussed the bad, what are the benefits of kratom? Increased energy, decreased pain, increased focus, increased memory, higher learning performance, less depressed mood, lower levels of anxiety, reduced or stopped the use of opioid painkillers, reduction of PTSD symptoms, and elevated mood. Kratom increases the immune system and reduces inflammation. Now that we've discussed the bad, what are the benefits of Kratom? Increased energy, decreased pain, increased focus, increased memory, higher learning performance, less depressed mood, lower levels of anxiety, reduced or stopped the use of opioid painkillers, reduction of PTSD symptoms, and elevated mood. Kratom increases the immune system and reduces inflammation. Some people have become addicted to Kratom. Some of the withdrawal symptoms of Kratom are muscle aches, insomnia, irritability, hostility, aggression, runny nose, and jerky movements. With all of that being said, for someone who lives with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, the withdrawal symptoms are the same as the symptoms of living with these two disorders. How would you even know you were withdrawing from Kratom? Suggested safe doses of Kratom are up to 4 grams at a time, 2 to 3 times a day. If you are new to Kratom, start at a lower dosage of 2 grams or even less, and work your way up to see what your ideal dosage is to reduce or eliminate fibromyalgia symptoms. Less than half of people have any kind of withdrawal effects after they stop taking Kratom, and most of the withdrawal symptoms barely even register. This begs the question by some that Kratom is addictive. Another important thing to remember about Kratom is to switch up the strains. Just like its relative coffee or most other substances, you can build a tolerance up to Kratom. At one point you may think that it's not working, but this can be avoided. There are multiple strains for each color, white, red, and green. You can either switch color strains or switch strains within each color. By doing this, you can ensure that you can keep your Kratom dosage low and it will remain effective. When you buy Kratom from a supplier, make sure that they can provide third-party testing. Third-party testing will identify the strain of Kratom, the percentage of mitragynine in the Kratom, and let you know that it is unadulterated. As with anything else on the market, including over-the-counter medications, don't mix Kratom with prescription or over-the-counter medications. If you have a pre-existing condition, do your research to see if Kratom is right for you. The bottom line with Kratom is this. If you're going to use it to help with pain and energy for your fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, be smart. Don't mix Kratom with other drugs. Take the minimum amount of Kratom needed to acquire an analgesic or energetic effect. Don't take Kratom every day. Take a break from it. Don't take the same strain of Kratom consistently. Mix up the Kratom strains to avoid building a tolerance to it. Don't abuse Kratom. Use it as a supplemental treatment and not the main mode of treatment for your fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome.